Good morning, dear colleagues. We are sincerely grateful to the organizers for the opportunities to participate in the conference. Galina Lopushniak, Oksana Poplavska, Danylevych, and I, Ilienko, are presenting the results of the research analysis of the motivational profile of personnel directed at achieving sustainable development of the enterprises. One of the criteria for a candidate to choose a job is the implementation of social projects and the company's compliance with sustainable development goals. HR management based on the principle of green management and corporate social responsibility is becoming a key strategic HR management objective. The turbulence of the political and socio-economic environment requires contained modification of staff motivation tools, which requires constant analysis of staff motivational profiles. The purpose of this research is to study the motivational profiles of personnel to identify dominant motives and based on these propose directions for motivation employees of the studied enterprises that contribute to their sustainable development. Identify or refuse the high this is reheartening the existence of differences in the motive structure of all personnel categories. The authors have modified the methodology Ricci and Martin to analyze the motivational profile of a person with the specification of parameters according to the goals of sustainable development. The indicator of recognition of work results was redefined as fairness of work evaluation. Since employers would rather know how they work is evaluated by all stakeholders than to know how it simply recognize it as exciting. The indicator self-improvement has defined as development and training as this way, according to the experts' answers, it's easy for the staff to understand the nature and ways of self-improvement. The indicator's interesting and rewarding work was changed to emphasize usefulness for society rather than for the employer. The authors have added an assessment of social participation, charity participation in social projects, and the environmental component. Social context and relationships have been defined as psychological well-being and social interaction. The structure of the study is presented on this slide. As a result of the conducted research of qualitative assessment of significance satisfaction with factors for selecting respondents for workers, we can determine that the greatest factor, working conditions, social contacts, psychological well-being, and interesting work. A qualitative assessment of the significance and satisfaction with factors for professionals show that the greatest factors are working conditions and power. Qualitative assessment of factors for manager showed that the greatest factor are psychological well-being and power. This slide has got the results of structure of a worker's motivational profile, factors in which employers and company are satisfied with their compensation policy include on working conditions, social context, psychological well-being, recognition, and interesting work. Factor in which the workers are involved but not recovered by a compensation policy are subject to high salary and result driven. On this slide, we can see factor structure of the professionals' motivational profile that will ensure high motivation in business and don't require changes, consist of working condition, power, changes, creativity, and self-refinement. Factors that will require additional examination science will personnel aren't motivated to demand it include on high salary, psychological well-being, recognition, result driven, and innovation. Factors in which managers and company are satisfied with their compensation policy include on interest of work, creativity, power, and psychological well-being. Factors that will require additional examination since the personnel aren't motivated to demand it are subject to high salary, result driven, recognition, changes, and innovation. On this slide, we can see the result of ideal and actual motivational profile of an employer of bakery enterprises, which takes into account the task of achieving sustainable development goals. Based on the data obtained, the offered models of personnel motivation must necessarily include the following components: a decent level of remuneration, safety in the workplace, recognition of work, positive socio-psychological climate, involvement in social product. The significant and practical value of this study lies in the result of testing the developed methodology for analyzing the motives that contribute to the achievement of behavior based on the goals of sustainable development. Adaptation of methods for study staff motivations to the current conditions in Ukraine and the Ukrainian worldview. The hypothesis is that the structure of employer motivational profiles depend on the position and job nature. The data obtained indicate that employers have motives that directly correlate with the goals of sustainable development, such as motives related to value work of society, social partnership, and environmental components, etc. The priority of these motives is much lower than the potential because employees are dissatisfied with the level of remuneration. the current situation has rather increased the priority of safety motives and reduced interest in the motives of green management. There is also differentiation of the structure of motives by category of personnel, which is general doesn't reduce the possibility of defining universal motivational components focused on achieving sustainable development goals. The future direction we can see on this slide. Thank you.